Hi, I'm Kelly Roberts. I own Beach Pilates and Wellness, a Pilates studio in Bethany Beach, Delaware, and I also have my own website where you can join my membership and have access to a video library 24/7, anywhere, any device, at any time. I myself have been living with Ehlers-Danlos and POTS for a couple years now. I was actually diagnosed when I was 9 weeks pregnant with my youngest daughter, who will be 3 in November. So Pilates has been my go-to since I was in my 20s, from injuries, from a car accident, from sports injuries, and then looking back now, realizing that I had a lot of symptoms before. So I've had a couple clients with Ehlers-Danlos in my career of teaching. I've been teaching for 13 years now and been doing Pilates for 16 or 17. So I have my own personal practice. I'm going to show you at least 5, 6, 7 exercises that you can do on a daily basis. If they're safe, it helps you develop your core, it gets some balance, strengthening, lengthening of the muscles, and just finding that stabilization of the joints to help you work through the days that you're really having a hard time with pain, or you just need to find some movement, or just to learn how to develop your core so that you are actually getting stronger and learning to stabilize the joints. So I've been able to rehabilitate myself for years with a Pilates practice almost every day, where I don't have a lot of injuries. I wake up sore, but I haven't, knock on wood, had any serious like dislocations or anything in a long time. So I swear by Pilates that it's the one exercise that you can do if you're 9 years old or 95. You have a practice that you can take yourself and your lifestyle and have a healthy background of your body, your mind, and just living every day without pain. It just takes a few minutes. So we're just gonna do a little bit of exercises. We're gonna bring you to the mat. So you just wanna kind of round yourself down, or get yourself comfortable to the floor. You wanna make sure that alignment is your biggest thing you wanna focus on. So you wanna make sure that your heels are in line with your sit bones, and if you think of a ball or yoga block or something between your knees, that your inner thighs stay active. So we're just gonna start with pelvic tilts. So if you kind of think of your pelvis like a bowl, you roll it back into the mat. So you're kind of tucking your lumbar spine or your lower back into the mat. So if you have a lot of SI joint instability, which I do, it slides out, in and out all the time. I can usually just get myself to do some of these and it'll almost slide back in, or the release of the tension of the lower back starts to feel better. So you have to keep your glutes turned off. So we all learned for so long to like fire your glutes, especially if you remember Jane Fonda, if you're old enough to remember, like everything was always tucked and firing from here. Pilates makes you engage your core to make you do the work. So when you roll back, your lower back is going into the mat, but you're not firing from your glutes, you're actually using your core to take you back. And then you've got that little push away. So you're gonna scoop and pull back, and then push your tailbone back to the mat, so it should allow you to slide a couple fingers between the mat and back. So you don't wanna go an overextension where you're popping in your rib cage, but you're just rolling back into the mat for that little scoop and then that little tilt away from you. So you've got that inhale and your exhale. You want to try to relax the shoulders when you first start these. Everyone kind of tenses up in the shoulder because you feel like you have to engage here to get this to engage. You almost just want to think of like sinking your belly button to your spine. If you think of a weight that would be pulling your belly button down to your spine. So these are just some little gentle movements. I do these every day. Like I woke up this morning and my lower back is pretty cranky. So just these usually help get some movement through your sacrum and your lumbar spine to try to get that release of that tension and to release any little pain that you might have. So you just have to make sure that you're not forcing it to roll back. All right, so 10 of these is usually the magic number. We've probably done a couple more, but. All right, we're gonna go into a pelvic curl. So you have to scoop just like you started and then peel yourself off the mat, one vertebrae at a time. You want to keep those shoulder blades wide and your collarbone wide as you round back down, one vertebrae at a time, and taking it all the way to the mat. So you've got your inhale, scoop your belly, round and lift up. If you think of your knees, they should be going over your big toes. You should get a stretch in the front of your quad. So the top of your thigh should get that lengthening feeling, or the top of your quad should get that stretch. And then as you roll it down. So when people start off, they usually shoot themselves straight up with their back, and they have a hard time finding that articulation or that rounding of the spine back to the mat. So my shirt is probably not helping you see the rounding, But if you round up as high as you can, and then when you come back down, if you can think of scooping and articulating one vertebrae at a time, your hips are actually going to be the last thing to come all the way to the mat. So these are another great exercises. When you're really tight and you feel like you have a lot of tension through your spine, you can take your time and just work through each vertebrae as you come down to the mat. Again, the weight is in my hamstrings. I'm not lifting with anything else. So my glutes aren't firing, but my abs are doing the work to scoop, and then my hamstrings are firing to bring me up, and I have that lengthening away. And then round it back down. So we're gonna go one more time. So you're gonna take your inhale, scoop your belly, and then round it up as high as you can, and then find that articulation back to the mat. All right. Right leg is gonna go out straight. If you need a modification, you can keep your knee bent to help you stabilize with your pelvis. If you wanna work a little bit harder, if you have any background in Pilates, you wanna take your leg out straight, you can. Just work on your form. Again, like I said, Pilates is all form oriented. You're gonna take your left leg up from your hip, and you're just gonna cross the center line of the body. They're little tiny hip circles. The only thing you wanna watch is that your pelvis doesn't move through it. So you have to think of your hip as an extension of your pelvis. So you're gonna reach it out and then reach it back up from the hip. So it's a little tiny range of motion. You never swing your leg out past your hip bone. And again, if you wanna bend your knee, it's harder for me to do the modifications now to keep my stabilization with that knee bend. But as you start to work until your core gets strong, start there. So 10 one way, and then you reverse it. So you pull down and then lift, down and lift. So again, you want control from your core. You shouldn't feel like you're swinging through it. It should be a stabilization and that length out of the hip, out of the hamstring. One more. All right, left leg is gonna come to the mat, and then you're just gonna switch it. So right leg comes out, and if you're really tight, just pull your hamstring. If you tend to hyperextend, like a lot of us with Ehlers do, isn't pushing too far past where you're getting that hyperextension, keep your knee soft, and then you're gonna cross the center line and lift. So that length out of the hamstring, and they don't have to be big circles. A lot of people kind of try to swing through them. You just want real tiny movement out of the hip. And the focus is to find that stability of your pelvis. If you think of a hot cup of coffee on your bladder, it shouldn't spill. And then find that reverse. Pull it down, lift, and lengthen. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, bring that leg down. And if you just want to do a little rotation, just be careful on rotating, especially if you have any serious injuries through your spine. And then just arms drop to one side, and you don't even have to drop your knees all the way to the floor. You just want that little release of your rib cage. All right, put your feet to the mat, grab your hamstrings, and round yourself up so you're sitting. All right, legs are gonna come out about hip width apart, and you wanna flex your feet so that you drive your hamstrings to the mat. Think of a wall behind you, so you wanna be as long as you can out of your spine. You're gonna drop your head, reach it out past your toes, then scoop your abs, and then grow tall from the crown of your head. So reach it out, scoop and lift, and lengthen. So belly pulls to the spine, exhale, hinge it forward. So you want this rounding but lengthening out of your seat, and then scoop to lift and up. So again, if you tend to hyperextend in your knees and you're like locking out, then soften them. Or if you're super tight in your hamstrings, you can always do a little bend in the knee and try to just work forward to get that length out of the spine. And then as you get that flexibility, you can grow tall. A lot of people have a really tightness in their hip flexors. You can stick another blanket to lift you up so it's not so much right here if you need to. So it's just that reach out, that scoop and lift, hinge it forward, scoop, lift, and lengthen. One more. Inhale, reach forward, try to hang there, make sure those feet are flexing towards your shins, scoop, and lift it up. Another great exercise is called mermaid. And if you have any knee injuries or hip injuries, you obviously don't want to sit in this mermaid position where your knee is pulled back. You can stack your hips sideways like this, and it's still giving you that pull under your kneecap. And you can sit cross-legged and try to do it this way. And another modification is to take your legs out straight if you can do it that way to get that release of the rib cage. So I'm usually okay in mermaid, so I'm just gonna sit this way so you can see it. where you want to work towards if you can without the injury. And then take your inhale and you want that big side stretch. So it's almost like you're making a big C with your body. Your arm should come over your ear and you want to keep this hip down as much as you can. So if you're super tight in that hip, it's going to be hard to keep that sit bone down. Just go where you're comfortable. It should just be a stretch. You don't want to fight it. If you're really tight, just go where you're comfortable. Use your inhale, take that breath in, and then exhale. Close down your rib cage, pull that belly button in tight, and get that length out. And then we're going to switch one more time to the other side. Deep inhale, reach your rib cage away, arm by your ear, so everyone tends to kind of close down. Try to stay open and wide. And then use your inhale to bring you back up. All right, we're going to switch legs. So if you want to sit in mermaid, you just pull the other leg back. I'm going to do it cross-legged so you can see, trying to keep those hips open the same way. So big inhale. Out of your rib cage, reach it away from you, long extension, deep inhale to bring you back up, exhale, reach it over. And inhale, bring it up, switching sides, both ways. So breathing in Pilates is huge. It takes a long time to kind of get the breathing mindset or how there is that breath pattern. Pilates teaches you to breathe through your lungs instead of your diaphragm, which is how we breathe every day. Exhale to bring it back up. So when you take that breath in, you expand your rib cage left to right, and then you close it down as you blow it out, and your belly falls soft. So if you think of your rib cage like an accordion, it kind of opens and closes. It all comes from the breath through the nose. All right, we're going to come to the floor. Again, just do this if you're okay getting to the floor. If you've got a lot of injuries and it's hard to get down on your belly, then you can just skip this one. All right, we're just doing a little bit of Sphinx or Cobra if you want to go up that high. So just be careful if you have any lower back issues. Limitations, you're going to use your abs to bring you up. So everyone tends to kind of close down in that shoulder. You want to push through your elbows to lift. So your abs take you up. You're going to feel your lower back engage, but it shouldn't get tension. So you should just feel that lift and that extension work, and then that resistance. So a lot of people with Ehlers-Danlos have forward head syndrome, which is what I've had forever, especially being tall. You tend to round forward in your shoulders and your head kind of leads before. So it leaves you with a lot of neck and back pain. Extension work, as much as we all hate it, is the perfect exercises to get that extension, to get your shoulders to roll back. So these are your postural muscles that help you reach back and lift. So it takes a while, especially if you're really weak in your upper back, to get into this extension, but you don't want to force it. So again, everyone comes here, you want to make sure your shoulder blades are drawing down and bring it back. So the modification is to stay low. If you feel you can go up to this, don't force it. And one more. Exhale to lift and extend. And then you just bring yourself back to the mat. You always want the control. And then we're just going to shift back into just a little child's pose to release your lower back. Again, if you can't sit on your heels because of your knees or your hips, then just come up onto all fours and then bring yourself back to the mat. All right, we're going to bring you back to your center and bend your knees to take you back down to the floor. So you can grab your thighs or keep your hands here. You want to make sure you have that control from your abs to bring you back to the mat. All right, we are going to bring your leg up at tabletop. If you can bring both, you have to really get into that belly. So your abs are just going to hold your legs up. So you should just stabilize and be able to hold your legs right here. Try to keep them at 90 degrees. If you think of someone sitting on your shins, you should be able to balance their weight on your shins as you hold it. All right, so this is a lot of work if you're really weak in the core. So just bringing your legs up and holding it. You want to squeeze your knees and count to 10. Then bring your feet back to the floor and reset. You can go back up again. You just want to make sure that you do it slowly and controlled. Squeeze your knees really deep in your belly. Find that 2-finger space. Tailbone should be to the mat. So as you get stronger, the more you deepen your core and focus on your belly to do the work, the more this strengthens, the more your lower back pain starts to go away. And then you can just bring your feet back to the floor. And you can go back up again.
So 2 or 3 times for a 10 count is perfect. So just squeezing those abs, focus on closing the rib cage, keeping that neutral pelvis. Your neutral pelvis is if you can slide your 2 fingers to the mat where your tailbone stays to the mat, and if you think of putting a hot cup of coffee on your bladder, it should be able to stabilize. All right, bring your feet back down. If you want to try to challenge yourself, another modification is to bring one foot up and one down and to hinge out of your hip flexor. So if you can see, it stays at a 90 degrees. My abs are doing the work. I'm moving out of the hip flexor, but it's not really doing the work. It's just hinging from it. So my abs are engaged to do the work to drop my toe down. If you think you're going to dip your toe into a cold pool, we kind of reach out and bring it up. Then plant that right foot to switch your legs. Tap it down and reach and lift. So the more you work on these little things and focusing on your form and your core, the stronger your midsection gets and the more you start to stabilize in your joints. So all this is stabilizing your hip joint by using your core and reaching out of your hip flexor. Okay, so when you come back, bring your leg back up and then back up. And again, see if you can try to stabilize, find your control first, and then focus on really flattening the belly to the spine, closing down that rib cage, and engaging your transverse, which is your pelvic floor. So if you think of zipping up a pair of jeans that don't fit, or kind of tucking your pelvic floor up under your rib cage, those are the abdominal muscles that you really want to focus on. And then just bring your feet back to the floor. And again, you can just find a little bit of rotation if you're comfortable. And then switch. My SI joint just popped right back in just from doing that little bit of a rotation. So I probably have gotten rid of that pain just from those couple little exercises and moving. And all right, feet come back to the mat. Round yourself back up.
And then those are just the perfect exercises to start with. So that's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 that I gave you that you can actually focus on finding the control from your core and stabilizing, focusing on your breath. Take it slow, listen to your body. If it doesn't want to move, don't put it in a position where it doesn't want to, where you're forcing it. Just focus on little things, just like holding your legs up at tabletop or doing those pelvic tilts of rocking your pelvis back and forth where your lower back is hitting the mat and then that you're pushing away. So I hope that helps. Feel free to ask any questions. You can find me on social media. You can email me. You can even call if you have questions. I'm here to help. Like I said, I've had a lot of clients that have Ehlers-Danlos, and we've been working with them for a couple years on rehabilitating. I've had one that was bedridden, and now she's in California cooking. So, and she's young. She had her stuff diagnosed when she was like 15. Now she's 22 and living life. So if you need anything, I'm always here. Thanks for having me, and I hope that you love some of the exercises.